All right, welcome back. Now, sasa tuko hapa cha ukweli sasa. Yes. Cha ukweli. All right, Mheshimiwa, you have the copy of the Standard. Please take us through that front page kindly in 1 minute. What's on the front page of the Standard?
Yeah, Ruto trains guns on PS in Safel.
What do you make of that?
Actually, I'm Peter Masara, for those who don't know me. I represent the great people of Sona West. I'm a member of Orange Democratic Movement. Since the Gen Z generation, in their demands, they wanted accountability in the government. I think it is high time, I believe,
yes,
the president decided to take stock of what has happened since he joined the government in 2002. And actually, now that we are almost midway, in the midterm, it is important for evaluation to be done. Those who have performed to continue performing, those who have underperformed to be given lighter duties. So I think there's no strange thing here. Any organization can reorganize their government, their organization. So when President Ruto is trying to organize the PS, you know, the PSS actually are the engine of every ministry because they are the accounting officers. And in most cases, actually in other well-established countries, the professionalism is usually considered. Where, for example, health need a PS or a CS who is a qualified doctor so that they can understand the area where he's going to work. So I don't see much here. We need, actually should suffer the whole cabinet because they let him down. Yeah, Kenya have spoken, and they have spoken loudly that they were dissatisfied with what has happened from 2022 to 2024. So me, I expect that everybody will go home and the younger people, younger generation will be appointed to be PSS.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Gabriel?
First of all, you had asked me two questions before we went to the break. And one was the issue of the grip on Mount Kenya by the Deputy President, by the coalition, or I mean the coming together of the President and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And my opinion is that is a creation of the media. The government is working properly. We may have some challenges here and there that we have seen, and you know, people have created that there's some problem between the President and the Deputy President. The only thing I would say is we are trying to avoid tribal politics, and we have seen where tribal politics has taken us. This idea that you have some people and we have interests. And Honorable Masara will tell you that when in Parliament, he represents the people of Suna West. And of course, he'll want to have the interests of those people attended to first. The same way I would want the interests of the people of Gatundu South attended to first. That does not mean, however, that we create an environment of animosity against each other as communities and as tribes. And you know that is against the Constitution. So we're trying to bolster unity in this country. So when Raila Odinga and William Ruto come together and say we have chaos and we need to get a political solution so that Kenyans are happy, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're opportunistic and you think that you're going to now cry fall in the village and say that this unity that is, because when there's no peace, especially in this Nairobi, the people who suffer, this is a metropolitan place. We suffer, all of us, whether you're from the mountain or from the lake or from the ocean. I mean, we all suffer if Nairobi and other urban areas are not peaceful and the environment is no good for business. So I wouldn't, anybody who wants to take advantage of a situation that the government and everybody found themselves really in, would be considered an opportunistic. Therefore, that's number one. Number two, on the issue of cabinet secretaries and PSS, I don't think the people that the masses had the problems with was a cabinet. And you know, these accounting officers who are PSs are the engine, really, that runs these state departments. And the state departments are the ones that run our country, per se. The CSs are more of giving political direction and probably carrying the carriers of the dream of the government that is in place. But the principal secretaries, really, even when they are nominees of the president, are more of technocrats, and their work is to, you know, really be, that's why they're the accounting officers. I would say that I would expect the president to be a little cautious when moving, especially now that we have mainly new cabinet secretaries completely in all new departments. I would expect him to be a little slow towards reshuffling the entire PSs. Yeah. Okay.
What do you make of that, Wanjiru, as well? Wanjiru is an advocate of the High Court, and she also took a stab Kiambu constituency in the last election. So she has a grip of what you gentlemen also, she missed with the whisker, but it's okay. So what do you make of this? There's no problem with that. Reshuffling the entire cabinet to make it more efficient is what the president is talking about. That's forming a part of discussion. So you can just pick it from where Gigi has left.
You know, in my opinion, from where I sit, the cabinet dismissals and reappointments and the PSS dismissal and reappointment is sort of like a reactionary decision that was precipitated by what happened following the protests. And my first question is whether the leadership at the executive level understood what was really the core reason behind the protests, because the finance bill was really just a catalyst. The questions that Kenyans are asking themselves is, how have we found ourselves in this situation where we are being overburdened by these taxes? And that is why we are now beginning to have this conversation around how did we get into so much debt?
Yes.
Why is there so much corruption? What is the president's vision in respect to fighting graft? So those are very critical issues in which the president needs to consider when he's making these appointments. And in my opinion, I do not believe that that is something that the president took into consideration, because you can tell from some of the cabinet appointees who are already facing graft charges in court. Were it not for the appointment, they would now be, they were awaiting prosecution, so to speak. So that in itself indicates that we lack the proper goodwill from the leadership of this country to fight the very reasons why the Gen Zs actually went to the streets. Yes.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Peter, because when you look at it, part of the cabinet is formed by ODM, or opposition. And, the opposition said those were individuals who are willing, not sanctioned by the Azimio or that. But now we're also seeing part of the PSS, the reshuffling is also coming. When? It's a matter of the president to tell us now. But now we have got the president's take too. What should we expect moving forward?
Victor, somebody forgets about the history, cannot move forward. Let's go back to 2022 general election. It was contested. And both Raila and Ruto got almost, according to what was announced, similar votes, because the difference was 200,000. Now, Ruto himself decided to name a cabinet. He worked with that cabinet for almost 18 to 19 months, and things were not working. So, to me, he went to his rival to borrow experts and ask how, if you were given opportunity, how will you manage your government? That's why you see ODM has not joined the government, but we have given Kenya Kwanza our experts. Mbadi, you know, is a CPA. Ope Wandai, you know his history. Joe was in Mombasa, he performed well. Oparanya was in Kakamega. You can't dispute his performance. What we have to agree first, can we have a cabinet without a country? Can we have coalition parties without a country? So what happened should not be judged negatively. First, we had to secure our country is when we move forward. The situation by then, there was no alternative. These two principles had to agree on a conversation. I can tell you, because I attended all the meetings, even the latest one, of the PG, there is no written agreement deposited anywhere that ODM and Kenya Kwanza are working as a team. The Constitution allows the president to appoint Kenyans. Mbadi is a Kenyan, despite being, now he's no longer a member of ODM, he resigned. Ope Wanda is no longer a member of, can I tell you, almost all these people are members of ODM, including the president was a member of ODM. Sometimes back, he just resigned. So by Mbadi, Wandai and Joe and Oparanya joining, and many to join, we want to make our country to work. I believe when these PSS are going to be reshuffled, I'm not qualified to appoint, but I expect something to be done which can stabilize this country. I'm very happy about something. Maybe if you get time, you read the new standard, page 2. They are talking about now reducing PSS from 51 to 35. That one is a gesture that things are moving toward the right direction. The main problem why majority of Kenya went on the street was the cost of living. Now, when you have 51 PSS, there's a cost element. And this cost is being burdened to the mwananchi. If you reduce it to 31, actually you have reduced the burden. We need the president to continue reducing. Actually, the next thing we are told here, there are some departments which are going to be merged,
consolidated,
yes, so that we can get quality services. That's a good direction. It means the expert we gave Kenya Kwanza are really advising him well for this period. They are advice, because before
they have not even served with their offices.
No, they have been talking for the last 2 weeks. So I suspect these are some of the terms they have given the president. For we to deliver, we must do, because look at the NADCO report. The Azimio coalition was very categorical about 1, reducing the cost of living, 2, prudence use of public resources, 3, ending corruption. Okay, those were fundamental issues. So when we start seeing things happening, it means part of the NADCO report, which was majorly Azimio on behalf of the Kenyans who were demonstrating last year, they have started implementing it.
Gigi, it seems that Azimio is taking credit for almost everything now happening right now. At least from what I hear from Mheshimiwa Masara here.
You know that's fine. That's fine. They can take credit. For me, whoever takes credit, as long as you have a peaceful country, is fine. What I would say, 2 things. 1, I like what Honorable Masara said. We need a country. You cannot have a cabinet without a country. And I want to tell my good friend Wanjiru here, we must learn to be magnanimous enough to accept that we also need a country. We cannot be people who just complain all the time. People have been in the streets and we've seen it. Nairobi has been ungovernable for quite a long time until the president now sought a solution, because people were telling us they are leaderless, they are, I don't know what less, they are formless, and now we need a solution. And you can tell that we have a solution because today is Tuesday and we're in town. I have not been able to come to work since, I don't know, for a very long time, since we passed the finance bill. So those are issues of that have been, and I also want to say that people who are in opposition must, the word is must, practice hygienic politics. Politics of sabotage and politics of fujo na madharau na mambo ya na incitement is not good for this country, because we need a country. And let me tell you, we have seen countries in our neighboring in our neighborhood going down. And so we must agree that we need to be more responsible even as we politic, and know that we have a country to leave to our next generations. That said, I think we have a huge bloated government.
You are right.
We are 349 members of parliament. We have a Senate that has, I don't know, 60 what people. We have 3,000 and something MCAs. We have nominated members of parliament, nominated members of county assemblies. We have 14 commissions. We have, I don't know what. We have a constitution that gave us a very bloated government. I think we need a very serious conversation on how lean a government should be. Because some of these things, I think we have duplication of roles. We have ministries that are carrying roles that are also devolved, and we have a ministry that is in charge of devolution, but then you also have a ministry that is in charge of agriculture, and agriculture is devolved, and you know all those things. We need to have a conversation and have a serious one, and have people like Wanjiru who are critical of government coming and telling us what you're going to do with this constitution, so that we appreciate and we continue. Because you see, even if you tell the president now to reduce the size of cabinet, reduce the size of ABCD, we also have a constitution that stifles him. So we must be magnanimous enough to come and tell him, I think it is time to amend the constitution. We tried the constitution in 2010, and now we have these challenges. This has been 14 years. We need to look at what works, what doesn't work for us. We need to look at where we are. Because I also feel like in the committee of experts, we should have put more economists to tell us, and more financial experts to tell us, okay, this is the constitution that you've formed. These are the number of members of parliament that you have proposed. This is the number of senators that you've proposed. This is the number of governors that you've proposed. And the governors have these sizes of government that you've proposed. How are we going to finance it without straining the economy and without straining Wanjiku? Because let us be honest, a lot of borrowing that I have seen, I sit in the Public Accounts Committee, when you see a lot of grants that have been given to this country, and by the way, they're called grants, and then we end up paying for them because they're conditional, some of them. And a lot of this money that has been spent from partners, even from the consolidated fund, you find it's money that really anybody who sat on that seat, as long as the constitution is as is, cannot avoid. And that is what we are finding wastage. That's why we are finding wastage. That's why you're finding duplication of roles. That's why we're finding offices that do not serve the people, that cannot give value. For the last 14 years they've been in place. When we sit down, we must audit ourselves and say, how has this office served us? Do we really need it? Do we need this commission? Do we need these nominated members of parliament? Do we need this many constituencies? You know, all those things. And we have an honest conversation like the Gen Z's made us have. And we say, okay, I don't think, because you see, this thing is not about President William Ruto. It's not about him. It's about the whole of that position, and whoever it is that will be holding that opposition, that position, even if it is you, Victor Olo, you would have to be caught between a rock and a very hard surface, as long as the constitution is as is. So for me, we must admit that we need to reduce the size of government, and we must also agree that as Kenyans, this is a conversation we must continue, we must start having. And I like what the Gen Zs have told us, because I think the Gen Zs are telling us to reset. They're telling us we have been taking a trajectory, and this is not anybody, this is all of us. We've been taking a trajectory without looking back and asking ourselves,
has the government done so?
This is not about government. I want you to listen, Victor Olo. This is not about government. This is about we as Kenyans. I am even saying, you know, how much is our tax to GDP ratio? We are now at about 16%. What I'm asking is, we must start having a social conversation about what we do with the rest of the money, with the 70% that is not taxed. This tax to GDP ratio, we must start asking ourselves, when our private investors are busy spending all their money on guzzlers and everything else, and we are not creating opportunities for our people, because the government is not responsible for creating opportunities. The government is a very bad business person. It's a very bad business entity. So what the government does is to create an environment for people in the private sector to invest, and the people who create jobs in any economy is the private sector. So we must start asking ourselves, how is our private sector formed? Is our private sector only left to those people who come from other countries, or do we have a responsibility? We who have money, who have disposable income, what are we doing to help our young people to get jobs?
Wakili here was on the front line during Gen Z Mandamano. She was there fully. But from what you're saying, I'll have to come back to my discussion. From what you're saying, it's like you're playing to the gallery. You're trying to smoothen the psyche of the Gen Z. We need to start talking to the government. We need to start doing that. But in real sense, you're the people who are supposed to be making some of these laws that Gen Z will not come back and oppose. Wanjiru.
You know, wait a minute. Before Victor comes, you know, it's very wrong for you, Victor, to impute improper motive on me and saying that I'm trying to play to the gallery. You need to have listened to what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to have a social conversation about the rest of the money, other than the money that is spent by the government. That is a conversation that if you don't understand what I'm saying, it is good that you say so.
I understand.
Other than say that I'm playing to the gallery. I want you to listen to what I'm saying.
I do.
The private money that you and I hold, because it is in the banks, we people who have a responsibility and are here,
right.
and because we have a responsibility because we have made that money in this country, we have a responsibility to invest in this country and to make other people who are behind us benefit from it. I was employed by an individual. Nation Center is not Nation where I worked as my first job is not a government entity. But those people created a job for me when I left the University of Nairobi. I went and worked there. When I left there, I went and worked at Royal Media Services, a company owned by a family. Those are people who went and created jobs for people like me. So I'm saying, those people we must start having a conversation like that. And then we say, we have been talking about public participation. I'm saying we bring everybody together and we say that this is how probably we should be spending our private money.
Let's hear from Wanjiru before you come in.
If you allow me, I'm going to lose something here.
Okay.
Let us not deviate from the topic. The topic is very important. Actually, I've gotten several texts here. We were talking about politics and the people. Let us concentrate on that. Politics and the people. And the most current happening is the issue of Gen Zs. We should not talk about so many things. Those young people have given us agenda. And their agenda is not only for young people, it's for Kenya. We are talking about Kenya. Anything which was happening before must be audited. Our lifestyle, how we behave, how we invest, how we legislate, how executive are operating, how our courts are operating, Victor. Victor, the truth of the matter is we were not moving towards the right direction. It is high time we sit down, evaluate ourselves, we go to what is called factory reset. We take this country to the original position we were in 1963 when we got independent. Then we start again moving forward. On the issue of the PSS, there's something I left. If you look at the current composition of PSS, majority are from two communities. I think I'm right there. So what needs to be done? The agencies were demanding for inclusivity. We want to see a Turkana. We want to see an Ogiek. We want to see a Kuria. We want to see somebody from Coast. We want to see somebody from Suna West. Somebody from there being a PS. When they sit down with the president, they'll tell him the problem cutting across the country, not two communities seated somewhere, dividing the cake. But when it comes to taxation, they don't exclude other people. They tax everybody. When it comes to employment, old people are being recycled. Young people who have graduated are not getting job opportunity. These are the issues we need to discuss, how to help our young people to get jobs or to start businesses, because not everybody can be in the office. Some people can be entrepreneurs. But is there enabling environment for them? Have we created avenues where they can go borrow money, start a business, and if they have money, when they want to start a business, what are the restrictions? How many licenses? How many approvals?
And that now forms the question. So what should we expect? Because now, the two gentlemen, you've talked about factory reset.
Yes.
It is okay. For 1963 and getting it right one more time. That forms our discussion, the president's take two. So he's reshuffled his cabinet and now the PSS are also coming. So what should you expect? Mike, that's a very simple question. That the country is now looking up to the government, to the president. The cabinet secretaries took over office yesterday. Some of them are still settling in. So what should you expect? Let me start with you again. Come to you, Wanjiru.
I'm not sure what we can expect, but what we can do is look at the track record of the current appointees and the appointees, the PSs that are going to be appointed shortly. But in my personal experience, I've learned in life that it is a very natural survival instinct for a person to push back when they are pressed against the wall. And we must ask ourselves, let's have a sober conversation and ask ourselves, what was it that led the Gen Zs to feel as though they were backed against the wall and they needed to push back? This had nothing to do with a broad-based government. It didn't. In fact, if you went to the ground, it really did not have anything, a lot to do with performance as such. There was not so much gruntling about performance. This went to at the core of why the Gen Zs felt as though they were so oppressed that they needed to go out to the streets was, one, the finance bill, which had imposed taxation measures that was making life completely unsustainable. And then secondly, that they lacked proper representation at the legislative level to represent their interests. So there was sort of like a defiance at the legislative level concerning who they are actually there to represent, right? And now, as I sit here and I look at the president trying to incorporate the opposition in his government. From me, what I'm wondering is, does this not look like a complete state capture of the legislature, which is actually supposed to be a check and balance
is it?
Of the excesses? Of course it is a state capture. It is a state capture. And then now we are only left with the judiciary to manage the excesses of this government. So these are the conversations that we need to have. Let's go to the root of why the Gen Zs went to the streets. And mind you, this is not a Gen Z problem, as Mheshimiwa is saying. This is actually the country's problem. Everyone was bitter. Everyone was complaining about just the unsustainability of life in this country. So this has really nothing to do with creating opportunities. What I've actually learned from Kenya is, or from Kenyans are, we are never short of ideas on how to create wealth. And when you look at the percentage of, if you look at the majority of Gen Zs, most of them are not even in the private sector or public sector. Most of them are actually self-employed or in the agriculture industry. Okay? So to that end, Kenyans have never been short of ideas on how to create wealth. The problem has been how we are going to safeguard our wealth and how we are going to manage this wealth. That has been the biggest issue that we have had in this country. And the question then begs, do we have the right team to address those issues?
That's the question is, Mheshimiwa Kagombe, do we have the right team?
Kagombe, can you borrow me your 2 minutes?
Okay.
So that I don't lose what Wakili. You know, let us be honest. This is our country. Let us be honest with one another. There was a problem. That's why Gen Zs were on the street. How can we solve this problem? They are leaderless. They are partyless. So you can't call their party leader. You cannot call their leader. Personally, as a leader, I picked what they were talking about and summarized it. Some were saying, I'm on the street because I'm jobless. I can't marry. I've married twice and I cannot sustain my wife. Some were saying that you are overburdening us with tax. Some were saying we don't see the future. My line is administration and public leadership. Now, when somebody is not seeing a future, they react. So these Gen Zs wanted to secure a future for them. That's why they were telling us, we don't want to listen to you anymore because you don't understand us. That's now the Gen Zs. It means leaders who are there were not doing things as per their expectation because they are the future leaders.
Okay.
That's why finance bill was rejected with everybody. Why? The cost of living. The cost of living is the key word here. Two, representation does not mean a legislator. Representation is where your leader represents your needs. It's not about youths being in parliament. No. You can have a leader who is 80 years but represent the interests of his people.
You took Gigi's 2 minutes.
Yes. Then finally on the same was about state capture. I think that's not a right word. I've never supported William Ruto, but on this, I can say that let us give him time and ideas so that he can move this country forward. Why do I say so? We want a vibrant parliament. I believe, moving forward, the MPs who are sitting in that house with what happened will think about their people, not about themselves.
Very good.
In that line, we'll be representing our people. And I can tell you, part of the 4 people have been nominated from ODM to join the government. Any program which will be brought to parliament, which is pro-people, I'll support. Anything bad which will be brought by the government, which is not pro-people, I'll oppose.
All right.
Because I represent the people.
Let me get from Gigi.
So 2 things that I wanted to tell Wakili here. One, I'm in the agriculture sector, and I wish she knew that we do not have the Gen Zs in that sector. I wish we could.
But you're
have,
a Gen Z yourself.
No.
Well, I mean.
No, you know, we must be strict. You know, if you're talking about the youth, I would have, the millennials would have been part of it. I'll tell you, you know, my life is agriculture. And, you know, I'm even in tea and everything. And I wish we had the Gen Zs in that sector. I think we could make that sector as attractive as to attract those people. And number 2, she also says that they are also not in the private sector and not in government. And then I wonder now where they would be. And she says that they're self-employed. I would say that I agree with the Honorable Masara on this one, that what these people were saying is that they have no future and they wanted to create a future. And you know, when you wake up and you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, you want everything to stop. And that's why they said, let's reset. But what is important is to say that this country has had problems. Do we have problems? Yes. Do we need a better, to find a solution do we need better economy? Yes, we do. Do we need to employ our people better than we're doing? Yes. How do we do it? This cannot be a game where we throw, this cannot be musical chairs, that it is not me, it is this person. This is where the country needs to come together. And that is why I support this idea of saying, okay, wait, guys, we need to have a conversation. But we need to have structured conversation, because, you know, we cannot have a conversation in isolation or in a vacuum. Because who are you going to have a conversation with? So what the government is saying and what the president said is, okay, wait, we need to start somewhere. Where do we start? He said, okay, fine, let people come together. Let's hear from the opposition, because they also represent a lot of people. And you're saying the Gen Zs were not just articulating their issues, they were articulating the issues of the country. So we said, this country, who are the known, what is our fallback position? Who do we know? We know the 15 million people.
I have one stone here, Mheshimiwa, and I want to kill 2 birds with it.
Yep.
Because I'm also told that we are running out of time. It's already. Okay. Then we cross over to ready. But I want to ask you.
But we request you add
to congratulate you.
You consumed our time.
Mheshimiwa, just to congratulate you. You are elected as the chair of, is it Ndaragu Tea Factory?
Ndaruga. And then
Ndarugu Tea Factory.
Yes.
What are you going to do?
You know, the KTD elections, tea sector reforms and tea sector issues are very interesting, because we have many levels of elections. You start with an electoral area,
yes.
Then you come to the factory, then you come to the zone, and then you come to the national board, where I now sit. And we should be conducting elections later today, maybe at about 9:30.
Okay.
Where we'll have the national chair, who generally, because of the shareholding issues, comes from the east of the Rift. We have 2 regions, the east of the Rift and the west of the Rift, where tea is grown, and the chairman naturally comes from the east of the Rift because of the shareholding of the company, and the vice chair will normally come from the west of the Rift, and so we are going to be having the elections today. And the reason we did these elections is because we want to change how we do things. We want to create employment here, like I'm saying.
Yes.
Because we need to get more youth and more Gen Zs into this agriculture sector, because it's not been very attractive to them because of the form and the way it has been, the way we have formatted the economy. So we expect changes to attract more Gen Zs. We have just asked the universities to participate in a competition. I was with the PSS to have them want to hear their voice on value addition issues and how to create a bigger variety of products that can come from our tea industry.
Thank you. All right. Gentlemen and lady, I'm told that we're running out of time, and we also have to get to radio. Mheshimiwa Peter Masara, how is Suna doing?
Actually,
doing well.
Suna West is doing well.
Thank you.
People of Suna are still having, they believe in me because of my performance. I can say that because...
The same as Gigi.
Yes, but what I can say finally, is only one word. The president. To the president.
See that, I have a split with my colleague Dora.
Oh.
That's already. It's enough time to limit that. I'm running out of time. Dora Manya taking it over on the other side of Radio Taifa. They'll be talking about ufadhili wa elimu ya juu. I think I got it right.